Well, in this Bible verses, where I read, Bible verses, we're going to do the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 3. Let's see how far I go. Isaiah chapter 3. For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread, and the whole stay of water, the mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet and the prudent and the ancient, the captain of 50 and the honorable man and the counselor and the cunning artificer and the eloquent orator. And I will give children to be their princes, and the babes shall rule over them, and the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one and by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. Yeah, basically, children are going to be rude to their parents and talk back and stuff like that. Basically what you always have, but they're using this as prophecy. If you notice, as Matt Dillahunty mentions, in order for to be a true prophecy, it has to be specific to one thing and have one interpretation. Someone can't read a verse in the Bible and come with several different interpretations. And of course, it can't be after the fact. You'll get this from creationists. Well, look in the Bible, it says this scientific thing and this scientific thing, but they don't figure it out till after. But if it was a true prophecy, they would have already known about it, what it is. They may not completely have understood it, but they would know enough that they would know it's a prophecy, and then they would know when it comes to pass. And the people shall be oppressed. When a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, Thou hast clothing, be our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. And that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be a healer, for in my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people, for Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against the Lord, to provoke the eyes of his glory. The Shua, or their countenance, doth witness against them, and they declare their sins as Sodom, they hide it not. Basically, they're out in the open with their sins, Like, you have today the gays prancing around, gay pride and all that stuff. For whatever reason, being gay is bad. I don't know what the Bible never really tells you why. But, people are going to be obvious with their sins, glorify it and all that stuff. And let's face it, we have that all the time, just like with children talking back to their parents. Woe unto the soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. Say ye to the righteous, that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. I love the rest of this. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward for his hands shall be given him. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. Children will oppress the older people. Like today, you got these social justice warriors now, social justice, which I find hilarious. And women shall be their oppressors. Basically, it's not a good idea to have women ruling over you. They're going to oppress you. Women want to rule over you. That's a bad thing. So don't vote for Hillary Clinton. Actually, I could care less who you vote for. None of those politicians give a damn about you. But we're not going to talk about that. But you got to love this. Children are going to be their oppressors, Children are going to oppress you. Women are going to rule over you. And I agree, you do not want women to have any power. Let's face it, it's true. You go to a park, you're a man, and you're playing with your daughters. A woman sees it, call the cops, and, or you're jogging, mind your own business, and some female asks, are you a sex offender? Or you're in Australia at a Target, you take a picture of yourself by a Star Wars display, you take a picture of your own children, and some woman sees it, takes a picture of that, puts it all over Facebook, and you start getting harassed for it. Calling you a pervert and all this stuff. So it's a good idea not to let women rule. And of course, if you think I'm being serious with them, these things what I say actually happen, And also, a man eating with his daughters in a restaurant, and some woman comes over and calls him a pervert because he's eating with his daughters. Yeah, those things actually have happened. But I'm not being serious as don't allow women to have any power. Because that's a small minority of women doing that bull crap, okay? It really is a small minority. And children shall rule over them. Unfortunately, people have given a lot of. If you've ever taught in high school like I have, you'll notice that parents give way too much weight into their children's what the kids say. They really do. That's why we got this social justice warrior mess. And of course, college professors, they only teach on one side of the debate, and that's really all they learn. And social justice. Sounds great, except for their idea of social justice is basically oppressing people, a certain group, while giving other people certain justice. Kind of reminds you of somebody who did that way back in the 30s. You remember? There was a man who felt that the Jews had too much power, you know, with the banks and stuff, if they wouldn't help the German citizens, because bankers ain't going to help nobody, let's face that fact, no matter they're Jews or not. So he wanted social justice. Read his book, Mein Kampf. His way of social justice, you oppress the Jews, and then you give that power to the Germans. Didn't work out so well, did it? Of course, then you got Lenin and Stalin, and then the French Reign of Terror in the early 1800s, where they started beheading the rich and the educators, well, the intellectuals. And of course, you go throughout history, you'll see this stuff. It's always like that. You know, you always get these social justice warrior types. They start slaughtering. Right now, they're not slaughtering anybody. And hopefully, I doubt they'll have that type of power. But you know how they are in history. Now all they do is just try to silence anyone with a different opinion. They cannot handle someone else's opinion. And yeah, I know this is turning into a social justice warrior rant. Sorry about that. But you watch enough videos on this stuff, it's annoying. I mean, instead of everyone working together trying to get justice for everybody, you know, have clinics that help men that are abused, you know, verbally or physically by their wives or sexually assaulted. These Nazi feminists, not all feminists are like that, okay? You know, these crazy feminists will not allow it. That's why you do not allow women to rule over you, just like this stuff says. Isaiah chapter 3. Do not let women rule over you. Of course, I'm only kidding, no. I've worked at a lot of jobs. I've had female bosses and male bosses. Neither one group was ever better than the other. I've had some women that were bosses that were just horrid, and men too. Now, I have worked at a place where we had a female boss, and it was a guy who could not stand having a female boss. Actually, it was a couple guys. He kept calling her, you know, a male version of her name, and talking about, oh, testicles are going to come out. Like, shut the hell up! She's not bothering you. He would find, and like a social justice warrior, find anything to be offended about with her. Anything. Eventually he's got there. All three of them were gone. She eventually went to bigger, better things. But there was nothing wrong with this lady. She was one of the better bosses you could have. There are men like that. They cannot stand having a woman boss. They can't stand it. Don't let women rule over you. See, these people are like that. They cannot stand women having power. Throughout this whole book is just one thing after another against women. But social justice warriors, their idea is you take power away from men, especially white men, make sure they don't have a voice, and you give it to women and minorities. Well, the problem is that does not work. Because once you take the power away, you ain't giving it back even though you claim you're going to. And what happens? You start oppressing that class. After years go by, it reverses, and your group is oppressed again. It just goes back. Just pick up a history book. You see this stuff over and over again. The same mistakes throughout history, and it's annoying. People keep making these same mistakes. You know, they'll tell you about, these feminists complain about rape culture. There's no rape culture here. And these social justice warriors, oh, rape culture, rape culture. Nobody defends rapists in this country. But they will defend Islam. They defend Islam. But in Islam, in a lot of Muslim countries, not all of them, like Saudi Arabia, Iran, where I'm from, women can be stoned to death for being raped. And the rapist can get away with it scot-free if there's no witnesses. I mean, it's funny. You're defending one culture that does have rape culture, but you're condemning another culture, claiming it has rape culture, but it doesn't. I mean, like I said in another video, I don't really personally care about these issues. I don't. Because let's face it, I can't change it. You're not going to make people all of a sudden be nice and kind. You're not going to get rid of bullies. You're not going to get rid of sexist people. They're men and women can be sexist. You're not going to get rid of racists. Both whites and blacks can be racist. And yes, I agree, you call people out on it when they do it. But make sure that they really are being sexist or racist. Oh, well, I think I made this video way too long already. I didn't really want to make it this long. You know, I'm basically rambling after I went over this. But it is amazing that these people really cannot stand women being in power. And they complain about the children. But they didn't, when you read this, wow, they're not much better than their children because they're pretty brutal. Oh well, thanks.